Hello. Welcome to the end of aging and premature death. I've had some gentlemen ask me again to try to improve my explanation of what is causing us to age. We age due to a pandemic plague that all life forms on Earth have. And that is why mankind has felt aging was a natural phenomenon. Every life form on Earth, every bio cell, every life cell on Earth individually, every cell of our body individually has an infection. And it's why we age at the same rate. It's why plants and animals age and die at the same rate. It is because each individual cell has a disease. As science has proven, mankind was developed by microbes long ago, and still this day, mankind is built by microbes, is designed by microbes in the womb of woman after mankind has conjugated with her, as many of the microbes do to reproduce. We see under microscopes this day. But I've been asked to try to quickly explain this, so let's try to quickly go through this here so everybody can understand what I'm explaining to them. We have thought all these years that aging and death was a natural phenomenon, again, because all biocells have this disease. It began on the energy level. Excuse me. It began on the energy level long ago in the primordial soup. It began truly on the energy level. These same energies, there's no telling how many there are. They could be 8, 10, I don't know how many energies, but it began on the energy level. We had a gentleman who got a Nobel Prize for theorizing how life began on Earth, Walter Gilbert, which I've mentioned in many of my videos. He theorized that there was something that came before microbes, had to be something that came before microbes. He said then it went on to RNA world, which would have to be a very minute being, and I have told all that it is the nanobacteria that's already been discovered many times in science. There's been many scientists discover nanobacteria, and they all gave it different names, and they all wanted their dues for finding this thing called nanobacteria. But it's been called bions, it's been called somatids, it's been called ultra microbic nanobacteria, it's been called nanobacteria, nanoparticles, but that's what these free energies began to develop, were small, tiny life forms that can move around and be mobile, and then they moved on to DNA. Nanobacteria has been examined by the amazing thing mankind calls science, and it has been found that they have RNA. Walter Gilbert said there was first LUCA. LUCA is theorized being that came before nanobacteria. Then he said there came RNA world. That would be nanobacteria because they found RNA in them, but they haven't found DNA in them. Then it went on to developing microbes, evolving, it kept building and evolving, and it finally came to DNA and RNA to where they could readily make their RNA from a DNA genome, a gene, a genome, a group, a chromosome, a group of genes that can make their RNA at will. These microbes built us long ago, and that's how long ago this disease started. It started inside the microbes that eventually built mankind, that eventually created mankind. As I tell everyone, the great creator cell, the stem cell, mankind witnesses then create life every time a woman is pregnant. We can watch it happen under a microscope, take place in a woman's womb now. They insert a video camera in the woman's womb, and microscopic video taking the place of the development of the embryo and through all of its stages. That is, these microbes, we call them stem cells, but that's what these microbes are doing. They're creating us each time a man makes love to his woman. So let's try to jump past that now. I've explained it again. So mankind is a microbe. So how are we infected? Air, water, touch. Everything we touch, everything that touches us, everything that lands on us, every microbe that lands on us wants to get inside of us. Every microbe on earth wants inside mankind. Anything lands on us, they try to figure out a way to get in us. Our foods, all of our foods are infected. They're the life forms that are also dying. They're the life forms that are also infected with this disease, this pandemic plague. And again, all biocells on earth are infected. I have it written down here, so I'll make sure I speak on it. And then they evolved themselves by starting DNA, stealing DNA, starting DNA. Some others just stole the DNA from others and started making their own life forms, started evolving themselves. They took the DNA of other life forms and began evolving themselves. This is where I talk about E. coli and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Prokaryotic, they're prokaryotic. I try to explain to everyone that they're eukaryotic because they've evolved themselves. They've got genes in them. They have many genes in them that they've stole the DNA of others to where they can act like a eukaryotic cell by making the vitamins we need, by making the proteins we need, by making all the peptides we need. They can do this. They now, E. coli and the like, they have the capability of doing this. Pseudomonas aeruginosa can make B vitamins. E. coli can make B vitamins. E. coli can make many substances we need. All of the bacteria, there's making something to get inside of man. The lactobacillus and others make different chemicals. There's those that make gamma amino butyric acids, neurotoxins. It's a neurotoxin when they make it. But if our body is trying to communicate with itself, it is a neurotransmitter, the same chemical, but the bacteria is sending it up to keep mankind as confused as it can while it's destroying us. But mankind's too powerful for it. Mankind has brought forth his science. Long ago, if there wasn't great men that were strong enough to be stronger than these toxins, stronger than these neurotoxins, stronger than these poisons, these humanicins, I call them, they're made to attack mankind with. They make the near perfect formula of man that man needs to survive so they can get inside of our body and become part of our body. Vitamin K2, riboflavin, I say is the most horrible toxin made by the bacteria because riboflavin comes into the body of mankind. The National Institute of Health tells us, and has studied it greatly for many years, they studied it and they say that we can get everything we need from our nature, from our foods, but they say they're trying to understand why bacteria make so much of everything that we also need, but the structure is just a little bit different. But they say they believe it could be helping us, but they can't understand why we can get everything out of nature, but the bacteria are making these same substances. Making the same substances we need to exist, to enter our body, to become part of us. This battle began on a very minute level. Like when you go to my website, I had on one of the very first posts, and I kept it pinned there for a while, to where I state, this battle began on the nano, the subnano, the subatomic, the massless level of existence, and it still fights on that level. It's just, it is now evolved and made life forms that this energy is in, and this energy is able to build itself over and over again and take the energy of other life forms. That's what the battle is all about. One life form taking the energy of another. I call these bacteria death forms. I don't call them life forms. We are developed by the great creator cell, the stem cell, and I say all of these E. coli, all of these bacteria, all of them want to kill the stem cell in anything it's made. It's a battle of life against death that began back in the primordial soup. As you can see, I'm trying to get sick like everybody else in the world. But these things that come into us are doing so. They have to sneak in. They have to have a Trojan horse to come in. And they stole the DNA of the cells that make us. Science sees them. It's a sad thing, and it upsets me very greatly. Is science is seen like the sperm of man once he makes love to his wife, his girlfriend, or if they use it in crime detection now to see how long a crime took place. They see how long the sperm has been dead of the man that committed a crime, or they're just testing his sperm to see how long he's been dead. I mean, it's a sad thing. But bacteria, the moment the sperm is released to the air inside the woman's womb, the bacteria is doing everything it can to kill that sperm, to kill it, eat what it can of it, and that's it. The gentleman that discovered under a microscope centuries ago that invented a decent microscope where it could see the bacteria, he named them little animals. Little animals. And he was absolutely correct, because just like animals, these things want to eat us. And they come into us and they infect every cell of our body simultaneously through our foods, because they have made the things we need. They've made the B12s we need. They've made the riboflavin. The riboflavin becomes the part of every gene of the body, because after it enters the body starts breaking it down, and it finally becomes ribose, which is used in every cell of the body. Every gene needs ribose, but we're supposed to get it from nature. We're supposed to get it from our foods, not from bacteria living in our body. They stole our genome, and what these things are, like science has found bacteriocins to where they make it to kill each other under microscopes, and science has watched them, and when they make these bacteriocins, like they make them in our gut to kill one another, they're battling in our gut to kill one another, they make a substance that goes into this microbe that is almost identical to what this microbe needs to live. So often that's what it's made of, is something this microbe needs to live, so it enters the microbe and becomes part of every structure of that microbe, part of its membrane, part of its organelles, all these things. It enters the microbe, does this. Same thing to every cell of our body. Our cells die while I'm standing here, cells are dying, and when they die, it's because they've been poisoned. Science has not realized this due to them not realizing the poisons they are dying from is the pseudo-nutrients made by the bacteria. Almost the exact structure, except they bring in more hydrogen or carbon, different variables they connect to this vitamin that looks almost just like the vitamin, the chemical structure. The metabolite always has to be pretty much identical to get them into the building, get them into the body. But they bring in a long chain of variables and more carbon, hydrogen, and scientists know that that means it changes the chemical structure in some way in every other chemical formula, except they call these vitamins here. I have these vitamins here. The different vitamins they make, B12, B2, B3 they bring in, B3 B7, 8, 9, all of them. They make these, and they take some that we bring in from nature and they attach this stuff and send it in that fashion. But they do make many of these vitamins. They express enzymes that develop these vitamins and put it together, and it's sent into the body, and it becomes part of the human body. Science knows that when a child is born, that they haven't had the complete infection yet. That's why we're able to grow up to a certain height and a certain size of a human being, but then the body stops growing. Now, we're not supposed to grow into no 50-foot giant or something, but the human body is supposed to grow larger and stronger than it does now. We're infected by these bacteria, and they're infecting us with pseudo-nutrients, and that's why science has not been able to find what's aging us. Aging is not us breaking down so much, it's us decomposing while we're living. More and more, the bacteria becomes part of our cells because it's able to come in force because it's infected our body more greatly. Science has seen that when an infant is born, when an infant dies, it takes them much longer to deteriorate than an older person because the bacteria has not taken full invasion, full attack on the body, has not developed a full membrane. And there's even a bacterial membrane starts developing in the body here that they're trying to coat us in our intestines, in our veins, everything, to where they're taking control of the body and they're destroying it. We're not aging as much as we are being decomposed. The great Aubrey de Grey knows that there's aggregates in us, he says there's different aggregates in the human body. He says it's everything from pathogens to just debris from the way we eat, the processed foods, the different things that come into our body. And he's absolutely correct. But what is taking these things and doing wrong to us with them is the bacteria. The bacteria, when we feed our body, the bacteria take some of our foods, starts breaking them down, and they add what they want to some of these vitamins, and they express some of these vitamins. They express enzymes, proteins to build these vitamins for them, and then they send them into the body. And this energy, and they are involved in this chemical they've developed. The original energy being that came before nanobacteria that Walter Gilbert said was LUCA. He named it LUCA, and he said he couldn't truly describe it, but it had to be small. It had to be very small. I say it was an energy being, and I say they developed cells, single microbic cells, to grow their energy, to make their energy grow, and then to steal energy from others and make their energy grow with the other microbes' energy. And then when other microbes started making plants, they started infecting their plants. Different microbes, one microbe growing plants, the other one comes stealing it. The other one coming stealing the energy from it and killing that life form. It's a battle of energies. It's on the atomic and subatomic level, but they built large structures such as man and animal, and they first started building microbes, and then they started evolving, and they just kept building and building, and finally they came up with fish, and they came up with animals on land when land finally appeared. So, again, glycerol 3-phosphate, the bacteria make it in our body all day long. Science comments how that's unbelievable that they can just keep making this glycerol 3-phosphate. And they'll say, well, it helps us. And they make it in great abundance. Well, it comes into the body, becomes part of the muscle. It's part of the energy transfer, the energy system. Glycerol 3-phosphate is what makes our energy. How does a person start losing their strength? There's an energy transfer taking on in the body. Literally another energy taking control of our body. We're born with a positive energy that builds us, and then suddenly this negative energy that wants to kill and take the energy of other life forms is taking control of the body in this battle of life against aging and death by them sending in pseudo-nutrients, by them sending in false proteins, false peptides, and that energy from the primordial soup is involved in all of those structures, and that negative energy is getting down into the cell and becoming part of our body, and that negative energy is building and building our entire life until we finally have become such a negative energy, we're old and decrepit, our bones are brittle. These things look like they're helping us in the beginning. We get our vitamins from nature, from our foods, our body's strong. This stuff comes in with the exact metabolite, and it does look as though it's helping the body because it goes into the body. But that negative energy and the negative formula that's just oh so different than the formulas, chemical formulas we get from nature of our vitamins, just so different. And then years later, that is what is destroying our body. That's what's decomposing us from within our body, eating us from the inside out and from the outside in. And that's what they're doing. They want the body to finally drop, and then they finish off any little bit of energy in the body. They eat the body and they leave, and then they've won that battle of that life against death battle. They eat the body and they leave on to another kill if they can. But that negative energy that's building up and is bringing us down to where we're supposed to all our life have a powerful positive energy that makes us alive and vibrant and vital and just full of energy. We should have that for centuries. Instead, this negative energy that began a war with another energy in the primordial soup on the nano, subnano, subatomic level, massless level, energy level. Then they began building. I've speculated. I've had men ask me, well, how do you think this energy developed? I tell them I can only speculate, but it must be somehow carbon. Carbon-free energy rose up from carbon. A free energy just rose up from carbon because of the electrons and the atoms of the carbon. The free energy rose up and finally said, you know, I think I can build some things here. I think I can connect myself to hydrogen here. I think I can connect myself to oxygen here. I think I can connect myself to this, to that. It's just an ongoing thing. But that's the only speculation I can put on life. These death forms, I call them, which is bacteria, they had to rise up from something, some type of matter. Something had to take place. So what kind of matter with a negative energy that wanted to take the energy from positive energy and try to be stronger with it? What kind of energy could do this? It could draw and use positive energy, but then suddenly it becomes a negative energy. What could do this? We can only speculate right now. What we don't have to speculate about is the fact that we can see bacteria, we can see nanobacteria, we can see all these microbes. We've seen all these substances they make to send into the body. We know, like a young man not too long ago, a 17-year-old boy, handsome, beautiful young man, the bacteria of his body finally infected him to where he came down with meningitis. They say they believe E. coli was involved in it. Now, he must have ate something maybe that brought in another strain of E. coli. They're always saying the strains that exist with mankind that are such good friends of ours, they're always saying they don't harm us, they're only doing us good, but they're not doing us good. Bacteria want us dead so they can eat us. Science knows this. The moment we die, bacteria kicks in and they start dining on the body. These little animals, called by the first man to ever study bacteria under a microscope, he called them little animals, and that's what they are. They're little animals that want to kill us and then eat us. It's just that simple. A battle of life against death. Now you see here I have in green my Gerivify algorithm. I have energy up here to make sure I talked about it, but I've already spoken on it. But Gerivify, the algorithm, I have here in green. I have these papers I keep up here to keep my mind focused, to make sure I speak on the structures of the vitamins. I keep this up here to make sure everybody knows this is why man is so confused on this issue, because scientific data has become a vortex of information to where so much of it is false, to where men had great visual data, but they wrote the wrong conclusions to that data, and it's just filled, every computer, every textbook has confusion in it. So I've tried to make this quickly here, so let me try to end this here. I am telling you that all bio life forms, all cells, all life forms, our cells individually are life forms. We have a trillion and more single life forms that are holding us together that made mankind be a life form. And science has seen this. The stem cells start building. The stem cells are working the day long to replace cells, to make more immune cells. They work the day long to keep this structure going. Every cell on Earth has an infection. They evolved themselves by stealing the DNA of the life form that made man. They killed stem cells and they stole their DNA long ago. Same thing with the sperm. I told you, the sperm is killed immediately. They immediately attacked by the little animals. Attacked by the little animals in the air, which we call bacteria, viruses, phages, whatever you want to mention. They were called little animals. They were called this rightly so, because the moment the life of man hits the air, which is our sperm, the moment our sperm is in the air, out in this physical realm of the earth, immediately the bacteria attack it and begin to kill it and eat it. That pisses me off. Death and aging is, in every sense of the word, a pandemic plague that I have named the Sensonic plague and the Senesonic plague. So I've got other videos out there, but I've explained it many times. The humanosins. I call them humaniosins because they are that the bacteria use to attack us. They have made substances that the human body needs to function. They do the same thing. They make bacteriocins in the same fashion. They make things the bacteria need that they're trying to kill, the microbe they're trying to kill. They make, not always, but so often they make substances to kill that microbe that is almost identical to the vitamins, to the energy sources, the nutrients that that particular microbe needs, and then they get into the body of that microbe by conjugation, whatever the case may be, and then they kill that microbe. And that is the same way they kill mankind. We die in the same fashion. Our body is infected just like they kill the microbes. Our body is infected. When we finally age and die due to the final energy transfer to where our negative energy now in our body, we can no longer carry ourselves by using this weak energy produced by this weak energy source that is death. Our body is dying. Then we finally drop. Then the bacteria burst forth. They do the same thing to microbes individually under microscopes. They do the same thing to our single cells when we die. Suddenly, all that's been hiding in the single cells, all that's been hiding in the intestine of the body burst forth and begin to eat the body. There, we have a horrible disease. There is my explanation for it. There is what I knew had to be. There is what Hippocrates knew had to be. There is what Eli Michnikov knew had to be. I knew this. I decided to look for it, and I found how they're getting into us and killing us, identically to the way microbes are killed under microscopes. Because we basically, in every sense of the word, are microbes ourselves. Microbes are replaced each day, and they hold us together. And when they die, we die. It's a pandemic plague, a horrible pandemic plague. We thought it was natural because everything was dying, but we never realized and considered that everything had the same disease we had, because every cell, every microbe on earth contracted a disease in the primordial soup and has been fighting that disease ever since, which is energy against energy. We know that we take in foods for a transfer of energy. Glycerol 3-phosphate is involved in the electron transport train in the body, is involved in the production of energy in the body. They send it in the day long. It's involved in the production of energy of the body, and bacteria send in the one that they make, which we can, our body makes our peptides as we need. We don't need bacteria coming in making peptides that we need. We make the peptides we need from our foods, from what we eat, from the nutrients we bring into our body. But the riboflavin sent in by the bacteria becomes part of every gene of our body. Every gene of our body becomes infected by the bacterial riboflavin that they send in, that finally becomes ribose and becomes part of every DNA strand, becomes part of every gene. My name is Rodney Berry. I found the cure, Gerivify the algorithm. I look for great men and women of science to join me in the now end of aging and premature death, because we do have a cure. Thank you very much.